Good evening from London. Welcome back to my channels. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Our mission is to help 1 million people start a business of their own and make sure that anyone that has started a business never feels alone doing it. I have a wonderful entrepreneur joining today who's going to be helping 3 entrepreneurs that need our support. So I hope that you can be here to encourage the entrepreneurs that come on asking for help. I always think the strongest people in the world are the ones that ask for help. And so I would really appreciate it if you guys could join in, ask any questions you have, maybe throw out your useful comments. I've always found that the most brilliant ideas to help the entrepreneurs that we want to help actually come from you. So please listen in, and if you think anyone would find it interesting to find out what questions they should be asking and get the very answers to those questions as an entrepreneur, feel free to share the broadcast. But just before I bring on Anne-Marie, who is our first entrepreneur who's looking for some questions to be answered, I would like to bring on Paul Grant, who's going to be assisting and supporting getting the questions answered today. Paul, welcome.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for having us today. Good, yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Paul, just before we bring Anne-Marie on, can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my background is as entrepreneurial background as well. And going way back, I kind of exited my last business in 2003. And importantly, since then, though, I've gone on to, I went out to join an angel network, and to cut a very long story short, ended up running the network for, intended actually only just for a few weeks, but ended up being about 3 years. And it was a lot of fun. I had used to have hundreds of kind of business plans being thrown at us every month, and then out of that we select about 5, and then we would put that forward to the investors, and then they'd basically make their investments from there. And what I discovered though during that whole process is that entrepreneurs really didn't really know how to go about raising capital, as I didn't in the previous lifetime as an entrepreneur. And so I was on a bit of a mission to try and clarify the whole process. So I started on putting on lots of different free events and trying to guide people through the process. And then in the end, I thought I actually enjoyed it so much, I just stopped doing the angel network. I mean, it still carried on running after me, but and then I've been basically coaching entrepreneurs through the process, and also coaching entrepreneurs after they get funding as well through the various stages that they have to go through. And so I've kind of been there, all the stages, and know that I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs through secondhand, but I felt like I've lived with every one of them going through it. So I've had a lot of exposure to a lot of different business ideas and a lot of different situations, and I still thoroughly enjoy it, and I'm fascinated by it.
Well, Paul, I want to thank you for giving up time to help some entrepreneurs this evening, and I think we'll get going. We'll bring Anne-Marie on, and we can start.
Great.
Hi,
Anne-Marie, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for having me in your live sessions today.
Pleasure.
And I'll present shortly myself and the company. So we are a small startup from Romania. We just launched a digital clinic dedicated to speech therapy. It's the first product that we know is available on the international level for this particular niche. And we started back in 2019 when we launched an MVP, a mobile MVP, to help children with speech deficiencies to exercise from home between therapy sessions. And right now the app has over 10,000 downloads. It's just in Romanian, and we are preparing to launch the premium app in Romanian and English this time. Meanwhile, in 2020, because the social context changed and everything was so surprisingly different on the market, we found out that our clients' needs changed. So their focus was on working from home. For speech therapists, their need was to have the ability to work from home, and there was no platform dedicated to their needs. So they couldn't use Zoom or Skype because they needed other tools integrated in there to make available for them the online sessions, the online therapy sessions. So we talked with them, and after that, in 8 months, we developed a digital clinic where each speech therapist can have his digital office, from where he can perform online therapy, and moreover, the children, the patients, can have access to over 200 special exercises that can be solved live. Moreover, they, as a speech therapist, we have access to management tools, patient files, and appointment tools that it helps you to be more focused on the therapy session and not on the bureaucratic paperwork. And the Boxy Kids Clinic is available also in English, and now we are trying to approach the international markets, like the English-speaking markets, in the first phase. And because we are a small team, we are 8 people right now, we don't have many knowledge on the sales area and on the investment area. As Paul stated earlier, one of the founders' problems indeed is that they don't know how to raise capital. So my question is, how can we approach English-speaking markets, or more pointed on UK market, because we know that right now it's a lockdown. So I'm sure we can help many speech therapists from there to perform their work properly. So, but we don't know very well the market, the people, how what are they reacting more? They are more active or engaging on LinkedIn and not on Facebook. What's the approach we must have with this market? Because I'm sure English people are different from the Romanian market, because they have a different perspective. They are more custom with digital solutions. But also for this particular niche, it's something new. As a digital product, it's something new for them, but something they need also.
Great. Could I just ask a few questions then? So what is your business model? How do you actually make money out of it? Is it charging commission from the people, the therapists in the actual program? Because it sounds like it's pretty much like a kind of business in a box, so they get the whole solution and they can just focus on what they're good at, which is providing speech therapy. But what is the, so at the moment, so what is the business model? How does it actually make money? So that'd be
yes. So they can use the digital clinic for free for 1.5 months, just to be more accustomed with the platform and to understand better how can they use it for the benefits they can have. And after that, we have 3 packages. So we are charging just the B2B, the offices, because we are like a clinic where you as a patient can enter. You don't pay to enter in the clinic as a patient, but you pay for the services of the specialist you are it's providing the service. So the digital clinic is exactly the same. You as a patient, you can create an account as a parent account. It's free, but the parent is the one who's paying for the services the specialist is providing, and the specialist is the one who's paying for the features and others that he can use in the platform. So right now we have 3 subscriptions, and the average price, let's say, is around 15 pounds, if I don't mistake. No, yes, it's 15 pounds, the average price. And the advantages are like a speech therapist can increase the number of patients, because he can be contacted by other parents that are not having this service provided in their geographical area. Also, they can improve their therapy sessions. So for them, it's all a win. Like, they are paying a fee, but they can actually have more time for speech for their sessions, improve the communication between speech therapists and parents, because this is a very important aspect. But also they can make more money if this is something they want.
Great, fantastic. Firstly, I must admit, I'm a bit astounded in the amount of traction you've got so quickly. 10,000 downloads on your app. And
yes, in the mobile app, and this is just on Google Play.
Yes.
And right now in the digital clinic that was launched in 14 January this year, we already have 50 offices that are using the app, and over 280 B2C that are in the platform.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so when you actually go out and get one of these, because obviously so I was expecting more of a kind of commission model, but that's interesting. You've gone down the package route, and that's obviously working for you. And,
yes, we didn't got on the commission route, and this is something it's nice to have a discussion about this also, because we saw that we have speech therapists that have 10 patients per month, and for them it's okay. But we also have but we also have speech therapists that have 80 patients in their office, because they have a large office. So in this case, we are having a package that is a base package, and after that, every new patient you add in the platform, it costs you 5 pounds or 5 euros, depending on the. So we have a base package. So and we are charging per patient.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so what marketing are you finding that works at the moment? And have you also calculated, I mean, if you don't know, then it's fine, but not many entrepreneurs do. But do you know how much it's costing you to buy that particular customer, as it or client or professional?
On the digital clinic, as I said, we just launched it, and we didn't advertise it yet, so we don't have this kind of information. But for the mobile app, to acquire a new client in the mobile app, it's around in euros. It's around 20 euros per client.
Okay, great.
More or less. As an example, we marketed the app in the last quarter of 2020, and we used around 50 euros, and we get an increase of 30% in leads.
Wow. Okay. So you figured out a lot of that kind of, one of the hardest bits is trying to work out how to actually acquire customers at a rate that makes sense. And so you've kind of figured out that. You figured out the other aspects of it, like something that actually works, doesn't fall down constantly. So you've got a lot of things going on. So you basically where is the company incorporated exactly?
Right now it's incorporated in Romania. But of course, we want to be present on the international markets, and this is another thing we don't know for sure where it's best to have our next headquarter. I don't know, in London, in Cork, or it's better to approach the US market. Like, we don't have this kind of knowledge because we are still a startup. So this discussion is relevant for us to better understand also the business area of what we are doing.
Okay, and also, do you have much of a runway for funds? How is it funded to date?
So we are right now we are on our second round of investment. We get on our first round was in 2019, end of 2019, and we get a pre-seed investment from a VC from Romania. And right now we are raising our second investment. All the investors that were from the first round are backing us up in the second round because they saw how quickly we moved, and they appreciated that that the team was ready to approach and to change the perspective in the COVID pandemic, when they actually were a little bit worried that we will get stuck, but actually we got better. So right now we have another VC from that it's coming along with us, and that it's very focused on the healthcare area. And our target actually is in 6 to 7 months to get a MERE between 25K and 55K per month, of course, to have access to a fund or Series A fund.
Okay, so how much runway have you got left with your current round?
With the current round, I think it's for 9-10 months.
Okay,
runway.
That's great. That's great. And so, do you think there's enough available in Romania in terms of the series? You know, have you got routes for Series A in that country?
No, we discussed with one VC from Romania for Series A, but actually we got some interest from some VCs from UK and US. They saw our product on LinkedIn and Crunchbase, and after that they called us. We presented the platform, so we just share screen and show them how it works, the Voxy Kids Clinic, and they actually liked the product, and so they told us what KPIs are they looking to, and this is why we are using this round of investment just to prepare ourselves for the Series A, actually.
Right. Okay. Do you think the KPIs are achievable? Is there anything that you could see that is a bit of a roadblock to getting any of them?
I think it's a little bit stretch what I proposed to myself. Like, my target right now is to get in 6 and 7 months around 1,000 paying customers, B2B paying customers. So I think it's a little bit stretch as a time frame, but I think with a lot of work and some good partnership and affiliating programs, I think we can get there, like by limit, like maybe not 1,000, but maybe 800 or so we can get through.
Right. Okay.
But I don't want to go lower with my expectation, because it's better to think like, okay, I will reach 1,000 clients and just try to get there, and maybe you will have 800 in 8 months.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my advice is also, are you just talking to one VC in the UK?
No, actually are 4.
4. Okay, great. Yeah, because usually I'd advise, if you got one VC, you're going to get others that are interested. Just, you know, once one gets a sniff that one's interested, they're all interested. So to get a good deal for yourself, it's best to sit on the negotiation tables with many of them as you can. And have you got a UK investment lawyer as well?
What?
A UK investment lawyer?
No, we don't have right now, but it's on our roadmap to acquire a lawyer from UK and also an accountable from there, because I think it's important to have also an accountable from UK,
Yes.
because the legislation is different from Romania.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you're dealing with VCs, you really, especially with the Series A round, you kind of really need like the strongest advice you can get around all the investment agreements, because it might look good on the surface, and you know, you might even show it to one back in Romania and it seems fine, but then you'll find out, maybe even many years later, you'll find out that it's not as good as you quite thought, because it's highly complicated agreements to come out with, and you need someone to really have a key understanding of it and to really guide you through it properly. So I mean, if you want, I mean, I'm sure Simon's got his advisors, but if I mean, I've got my own people I can trust, you know, people that have worked with my clients. I know they're in a safe pair of hands. I'm quite happy to give out their contact details, you know, privately if you want, if it's useful. And that's on the investment lawyer side and on the accountancy side. Because these guys are really help you in a big way navigate through these negotiations with these VCs. Sounds you're in a good place, though. I mean, really, a very good place. So what is the main barrier? What is the main thing that you'd want before we kind of close the call? What do you think is the main thing that would be useful to know from our perspective?
So for me, it was very useful to find out that it's the important of a lawyer on when you are talking with a VC, because I was thinking to get a lawyer because I need to establish their a point of the company. So that was in my mind, actually. And when you just told me that actually I need a lawyer when I'm talking with the VC, for me it was okay. I didn't thought of that. I thought that I need a lawyer for other parts of the business. So this was like a very good insight. I like the best. And another thing, it will be like another questions will be how you will approach a VC when you are negotiating. Like what as a startup, what are the things you want to push forward and to show them that you are prepared for what's next as a business, not as a product, like not features and other stuff that are behind, but as a business.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is with at that level. I mean, it's different levels. So when you're talking to angels, it's a bit different from VCs. But when you're talking for VCs, then they're going for like really going like it's go big or go home kind of scenarios. So you really want to demonstrate on a financial model. I can take it you've probably got one already, but a financial model that demonstrates that in about 5 years' time you can deliver them a minimum of 10x exit. And VCs are more hot on exits than anyone else because usually they got timelines. So usually they got a 10-year fund or so. And so if you come in like 6 years into that 10-year cycle, then you've got like a very short window where they've got to try and kind of flip the deal kind of thing and close it and get an exit basically. And so you know, but they're going to be after initial discussions have gone over, and then they get into the due diligence of it, and then they really get into the nitty-gritty of can the model deliver the growth that they really want. And VCs obviously want like are hungry for growth, and they're looking for really big opportunities. Some angels would be very happy with actually a 10x return, but VCs often want even more, and they want a really strong exit position. So they might even ask you, say, like, what is your exit strategy? How are you looking to sell the company in 5 years, or even less than that? If they got if you're on the short cycle, then you might say, well, here are 3 potential exits that we've got lined up. Well, not lined up, but you might not be talking to them, but you say, here are potential, and the reasons why that they'd they'd like to buy us is because of X, Y, and Z. And you might even point to other kind of similar kind of services in your area that have exited at certain multiples of the profit. So you can really get, you can indicate that there's 3 or 4, here are 3 companies that have actually exited in this kind of zone, and they've done it at a multiple of 10 or 15 times profit, to indicate that it's a really good market for exits in your particular space. So, and some of this doesn't take a lot of research but even if you just think about who the exit points are and why they'd actually buy your company. I would think you've got lots of good reasons, because you've got off to a fantastic start. So and I can see why they're hungry to have meetings with you and to close things down.
Yeah, we have an exit strategy, but I think it's not the best right now. The best strategy we thought of, because the e-health market growth was explosive in the last 8 months. So I think we can came indeed with a better exit strategy. And my last question is...
Anna Maria, sorry to interrupt you. Today's call is just 15 minutes, and I'm conscious.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know.
It's okay, no problem. It's good to be chatting. We're here to help you, so it's no problem. But I'm just conscious that we have other people waiting, so I don't want to be rude and keep anybody waiting. Part of it as well is almost sometimes like a chemistry chat between you and Paul. Sounds like you think along the same lines. So Paul's time is very valuable, but maybe you and Paul could have a chat later down the line. I think what Paul just suggested is awesome. He can send through some support leads for you on the legal side. I mean, I also think people like Seed Legals is pretty good. Online, there's a lot of online portals where you can also get this stuff, but it's really important to have that lined up. I think what Paul's just there is vital. I would also just add one thing. I think on the exit side, you can be really ambitious and also have kind of like the Bumble, Airbnb model, which is, I'm going to build this business up and it's going to IPO, right? And so it's not just about an exit. It can also be about building it up and acquiring businesses. But what Paul said is so true. In the end, if you take that route or an exit route, you've got to show huge growth with VC, which, by the way, is sometimes the reason not to go with a VC. Especially in the sector you're in, maybe there is other ways to do it. Cash flow positive business.
That was my second question. Like, okay, if I don't choose a VC, what's the?
I actually think you're a candidate for cash flow positive growth, personally. But I'd have to look at the numbers more carefully. And we haven't had time to really answer your question about entering the UK market. But I would say that you're quite specialised. My instinct, there must be groups that you can enter to go and about this with this community that must have Facebook, must be UK Facebook groups and stuff like that you can enter into and start having dialogue with people inside the industry that would help you get to market with your product in these different markets. But maybe we can have another chat. But today was just a quick chat, get to know you, give you a few bits of advice.
It was a pleasure.
It's not the end, but I just don't keep anybody else waiting. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you so much, Paul and Simon.
Thanks so much, Anna.
Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate the advice.
Great. Do feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Simon.
Sanjay, you've been waiting patiently in the wings. Welcome. Would you like to quickly tell Paul and the people listening a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and how we can help you today?
Hi, thanks for having me on. So my name's Sanjay. I'm the founder of a dating app called Elate. We call ourselves the anti-ghosting app because we're about more respectful and accountable dating. We launched in September of last year. And so we haven't even been going for kind of 6 months yet, but we've seen some good growth, some really amazing retention. And we think we've got something really kind of incredible in terms of a product. And so my and I've had quite luckily I've had some interest in terms of people wanting to invest, and so I'm now looking to do my first fundraise, because I've been bootstrapping this so far myself. My question is mostly around kind of, I guess, how I should approach it in terms of how aggressive I should be in, with regards to how much money I should go for, and how much, because my dilemma is that I could continue to bootstrap it myself. I am not generating revenue yet because it's a free product at the moment. I could put more time into the product, create a revenue generating kind of side of things, and grow a little bit more before I go for funding, or I could actually just go for it now, and I know that I could accelerate growth and accelerate the product and hit some pretty kind of reasonable targets, well, sizable targets, because it's a massive industry, it's a massive kind of potential growth, and it's really underserved right now. And right now, up almost half of all dating app users are unhappy or frustrated with the dating app experience, and that goes up if you take into consideration our target market, which is 25 plus professionals looking for a relationship, not casual dating.
Brilliant. Okay, just like a few questions then, just to flash things out. So your USP then is like is to safeguard being ghosted. Is that like a big pain point then? I mean, obviously I'm not familiar with the dating world, but it's like thankfully. Is that a big pain point then that people are finding? It comes up and up over and over again. How did you find that?
Absolutely. It came about because I've obviously used dating apps. That's kind of where it comes from. Sorry, to give you a bit more background, I've been in tech marketing for nearly 15 years now. So I've worked on kind of big brands in terms of consumer insights, but then more recently in product and growth roles for startups. I saw there as an opportunity for dating apps, because basically everyone that you talk to are just unhappy with the experience. And then when we did a little bit more research, ghosting and people who just never say anything, or they will match and then not respond at all, are the number one problems that everybody finds. That's higher than inappropriate pictures and all the rest of it. But it's part of a bigger problem with dating, which is flaky behavior, kind of inappropriate behavior or harassment. And that all comes because of the way that the existing dating apps are designed. They are all casual dating apps, really. Bumble, Tinder, even some of the more kind of relationship type ones, which is like Hinge, because they are focused on more of a superficial match, and they work with a kind of a volume approach. So they'll put in front of you as many people as possible, and then require the users to do most of the screening, so that they can kind of work out if someone's good for them. That can mean that you can go through hundreds, if not thousands of people before you find a date, let alone a relationship. And so we called ourselves the anti-ghosting app, but ultimately our app is about quality, not quantity. So we only show you up to 10 users per day. We have a separate feed that learns what you like in terms of your looks and your personality preferences. And then when you do match with someone, you can only talk to 3 people at a time, rather than the average is like 10 to 15 people at a time that some people are talking to. And you can't talk to someone new unless you end the existing conversation. And if you do that, we let the other person know, hence the no ghosting. You can't just like disappear on them.
Brilliant. That sounds great. Sounds like you got a good angle there. So, and with terms of traction, then I would have thought the tricky bit, obviously, is getting enough people on there quickly so people don't get frustrated because there's only no one on there, one person a day or something. How will you solve that problem, and how far have you got down the road on that one?
Yeah, so when we first launched, it was open to kind of as many people as you could kind of flow through. We now have enough users that we can optimize the recommendations. So that's why we limit it to 10 a day, because that also makes sense once we scale as well, because it doesn't make sense to show you as many people as you can possibly see in a day if you can only talk to 3 at a time, because you're just going to get loads of matches like you would on another one and just never talk to them. So we do it in a few different ways. We curate them, and we now have enough in our London beta, because that's all we've launched so far in London. And we we give them a small number per day, but we also, in this separate feed that we've designed, which is kind of to give them the kind of gamification outlet that they would have on other apps, so they can see pictures and they can see bios and answers from profile prompts from a variety of different people, and then they let us know how they rank them. So that gives us enough data that we can start optimizing their daily recommendations. It gives them a lot to go through, so the time spent in the app can still be, you know, a decent amount. And then when they get their recommendations, we know that there's some information that we have on them to be able to kind of make it useful. It's something that we've been looking at firstly on retention. So, you know, the industry benchmark for 1 day retention is like 26%, 7 days 8%, 4-week retention is 3%. And we're now at over 60% for 1 day, over 36% on 7 day, and over 3% on 4-week retention. So our goal right now is product market fit in one city. Get it to a point where we're really comfortable about that we're kind of gaining users and retaining them, and then that's where I want to accelerate growth.
Okay, how are you attaining users at the moment? Is it costing you much to attain the users?
At the moment, it's a small amount of digital spend and PR. So our cost to acquire is on average. Well, is on average less than £10 at the moment, less than £5 actually for a registered user. And when we add in the kind of premium products that I'm expecting to launch hopefully later this year, we expect that average revenue per user to be around the £20 mark. So the key thing is to reduce that cost even further. We've had some national press. We've been mentioning the kind of Mail Online and Evening Standard, and that's ultimately where we're able to kind of get a relatively lower cost, but that we've barely scratched the surface. It's mostly been focused on product. Once we ramp up marketing, and certainly that's my background in terms of growth and marketing, I know that we can kind of bring that down significantly, and certainly drive a lot more through kind of just organic and sources rather than paid for sources.
Great. And I take it you've got a team to scale as well. You've got like a...
So at the moment, I'm partnering with, they're like a venture building, so called Ucreate. They are the development side of things. So they are a team. So I don't yet have a kind of a CTO, and the marketing side of things is me. But one of the reasons I want to take on funding is so that I can scale up the team. Yeah, but right now it's done through this development company, which I can be very flexible about the resource that I put onto it and take off it.
Okay, great. And so how's it funded today? How much have you?
Bootstrapped.
Okay.
Sorry?
So just yourself self-funded, and
right.
Yeah. All right. And have you done a financial model? Like, have you worked out like how much you've got, how much you would need to last the next 12 months?
Yeah. So and this is, I guess, partly where the kind of question comes from. So the couple of investors or people who are interested in investing in me, they're coming from the US, so maybe it's a different market. But I've had initial kind of conversations with them just to discuss what they would be why they're interested in me and what they'd be looking to do. And a lot of them both of the two I've spoken to so far, and I anticipate maybe the others, are questioning why I'm not asking for more. So the original kind of goal was maybe just to do, say, around a raise of about 500 grand to scale up the team, really kind of test the premium side of things and get product market fit, closer to product market fit. And then once I have that, I can then obviously justify much higher investment.
Yes.
But the feedback on that was like, you should be asking for more. You've got a good product, and from what they've seen, that there's a real potential to scale. So I have done a model now where I could be taking significantly higher amount of investment and turning it into if we're talking dollars, like 5 million in kind of revenue within 5 years, and up to 100 million in 10.
Okay, I just have interest. Why are you going for US investors when there's like so many UK investors? I mean, it's
not because I've been looking for them. It's more a case of I've done some like AMAs on Reddit. I've also been on some Clubhouse calls and done some kind of like pitches in kind of Clubhouse rooms and things like that. So yeah. So I haven't even actually gone out to anyone yet.
Right. Okay. All right. So yeah. So thanks for the information. I kind of get like a good sense of it now. So I would say that firstly, I mean, if you speak to US investors, often they're good at. You can get lots of conversations basically with US investors, basically, or I've known some entrepreneurs even fly out Silicon Valley when you're actually able to meet people, and you waste a heck of a lot of time just kind of. They'll meet you all day long for cafe lattes and just you could burn through a ton of time. But really, I mean, there's a whole stack of investors in the UK that if you've got a good scalable idea and you've really have got a market fit, which you seem to really be on the road to that, then there's enough really there to get you going. And I would say that I think you're on the right track in terms of the amount of raise. I probably would recommend you wouldn't go above 500,000 for the main reasons we just explained. You're gonna you still got a way to go in terms of growth, and you partly validated one city, but you still got a long way to go. So you've got to figure out some of the formula, and there's the risk that if you took on too much money, apart from the fact actually it'd be quite. It's not the case where it's just as easy to raise $1 million than it is 500,000, and not nowadays especially. There's a lot of money out there, but basically you'd be better off working out what do I need to basically make some real waves over the next 12 months, and then maybe go out for a bigger raise. Then once you've validated, then the valuation will massively go up from probably where it is right now. And not only that, you'll find it easier, you find better terms with investors or with even VCs. You'll be able to call the shots a bit more, basically. So I would say that makes more sense to go in that direction. There's quite a few small funds available, not the big VCs. The small ones that are in the zone for 500,000 and $250,000, that kind of size. You could also maybe reach out to angel investors. There's loads of angel groups out there, like Surrey 100 Club and Enterprise 100 Club, Startup Funding Club, and there's a bunch more. And so you could start with that. You could also create your own list of maybe 50 angel investors that are interested in that kind of particular space. Start reaching out to them, one-page exec summaries or pitch decks, not to spray and pray at them, but just to reach out and say, hey, it's a good fit investor. You seem to be a good fit investor. You up for having a conversation, or you up for receiving the one-page exec summary? And then you're just creating your own kind of list, really, that will probably always be with you as long as you've got the business to just grow that. And then you want to be able to be in a position to retain a lot of freedom in your own business. So I think this is probably the best way forward. I mean, it's hard because I don't know enough detail of what you do, but that's the top line of what I give you right now.
Yeah, I mean that all makes sense. And I think that's what I'm trying to get is confidence that I'm kind of taking the right approach rather than trying to stretch myself. And I absolutely could take on more. I know I could do enough with it, but I'd also prefer to kind of fully lock down kind of some sort of product market fit first in London before we start scaling. One of the things that I had when I was head of growth for a previous company, I very much kind of experienced a company that was just pouring money into acquisition, and they didn't have product market fit and they weren't retaining them. And I was, even despite me telling them you need to stop spending so much money, they wouldn't do it because they had to show kind of year-on-year annualized growth. And so I just I don't want to ever get into that point. And I know that once I have something that we're retaining, the marketing budget will be like pouring gas on a fire. So that's what I want, as opposed to trying to do it too soon. One thing that I guess is in my mind is if I take a smaller amount. I mean, a lot of advice that has been given to me so far is that if I take on, say, 500K or something like that, there would be an expectation of around 20% in terms of equity if I was to do a price round. So that's, I guess, one incentive for me to maybe do a bigger one at this stage if I'm going to be giving up that much, rather than doing one now and then having to give away a similar amount again if this is a pre-seed and then do a seed in a year's time for a much larger amount, but then giving away another 20%. Is that something that you think is likely?
Well, I mean, usually the best way to play the game is thinking a few moves ahead. So, this is at the stage, you're at the stage of the biggest risk, even though you've actually done quite a lot. To be honest, you've done a heck of a lot, way more than most. And yeah, there's still a fair amount of risk in the game, which you have to pay for the risk, basically, in terms of equity. So you just want to take as much money as you can to decrease the risk in the next stage. And then the valuation will shoot up. I mean, it can be quite dramatic from different rounds. I mean, I've taken on some clients where it's gone from as low as like 1.2 million, and it's gone within 10 months. It's gone up to, sometimes it's quite high as 4 million. It depends, obviously, what happens in between. But if you solved a lot of problems in between, and it looks sustainable, it looks like something that could you repeat over and over and over again, like buying customers, for example. Then you could call the shots on the next one. But this one, they're going to be raking you over the coals in a lot of areas that, there's a lot of uncertainty still left in it, and they'll be pushing you down on the valuation. So I think you still get a good valuation, but I think if you hold out, you can take that bit of money, make it really strong, and then go out again. It's usually the best route.
Yeah, because that's why I'm kind of almost inclined to ask for a larger amount at this stage, because I've done a lot of work to understand what the cost to acquire and what the average revenue per user is, and there's actually thankfully quite a lot of information on the dating market. So I have very, very strong benchmarks, solid benchmarks, and I'm pretty certain that if I was to take a bigger raise in the first round, that there's even potential that I wouldn't necessarily need to take on another round of funding unless I wanted to go insanely bigger, because I could be revenue positive relatively quickly, and then it's a very, very lucrative kind of place. Like right now, my 5-year kind of plans, if I was to take, say, a much larger amount, will take me to something like $5 million in kind of 5 years, but that's still only like 0.5% of the total UK and US market, let alone much larger. And it's so easy to scale in terms of additional cities and different countries, especially with a kind of small amount of translation. And there are so many more countries that are open to relationship apps as opposed to more casual dating apps, like India being one example.
Can I just jump in for a second, Sanjay? We're running out of time, and again, just at 15 minutes today to kind of get an idea of what you're doing and get a few pointers across. Just a few things really. I also want to make sure I throw in there that I was thinking for you. One is, if you're going to raise money, and Paul, feel free to disagree with me on this, just my opinion. But if you're going to raise a lot of money, I kind of feel like you need a technical partner of some sort. So right now you've got this venture studio. Did you say Ugrate? I've not heard of them. Does it
Ugrate?
Ugrate. Okay. And I feel like you're going to find it a lot easier to raise money, I think, if you have some sort of technical kind of guaranteed structure, whether that's internal or this external party, but it's fixed. Yeah. It's going to be harder to raise money without that person. It's going to come up a lot. I'm sure you're all getting it. So one idea that I have done in the past is to not look for VC at this stage, but look for someone who's got money who could perhaps come on board as a co-founder or as a technical co-founder. And they're out there. I mean, of course, if you can just get a technical co-founder, that's a good box to tick. But if you can get one that also becomes an investor, I've done that before, and that could be quite powerful. And so looking at sites like Angel List, by the way, you can put your business up on Angel List. You can highlight that you're looking to get a CTO and willing to give equity for that role. Just another way of thinking, just to throw it out there. And I think it will make it easier to raise money. Again, Paul, feel free to jump in if you think I'm wrong.
I totally agree. The team obviously isn't. I didn't have a chance to touch on that, but he's totally right. If you're going to raise larger money, you're going to need a placeholder for people in the team for sure.
And I wonder if you could raise or spend a little bit of money just to kind of further validate the model. So when you're talking about your cost of acquisition being £5. Which, by the way, sounds like a lot to me. I mean, I know in the digital world these days it's getting more and more expensive to get a customer, but £5 to get a customer, but a £20 spend, a lot of people would invest in a model like that. I just invested in a business called Peas and Pod. Their client acquisition cost is about 50p, and but they're taking into consideration PR, which I think you should milk the hell out of that. I think you've got a really interesting angle that is really topical right now for a lot of people. And I think you could do all sorts of funny memes around it too, or whether you want to go down that route. But you could create a lot of interesting viral content. I think your user costs could come right down if you really push the PR front. And then really your only cost after that is the technical side, which means, I'm thinking about corporate programs like Amazon Web Servers to support you and invest. There might be some corporate structures that you need to bring the technical side on board and cover your costs for things like hosting. But anyway, just throwing that all out there on the table. I'm sure a lot of it, you're a very smart guy. I think I've seen you on Clubhouse. Have you been in one of my Clubhouse rooms?
Yeah, I have. That's how I found out about this.
Yeah. So I think I remember now, you're pretty switched on. I think you know, but I think this decision you've got to make, you said at the beginning, is quite a crucial one. But part of me wants you to hold out a little bit longer, get the technical bit, whether it's, I don't know whether UCreate would become a more fixed partner, but you have a proper structure there that when you're talking to an investor, you don't waste your time talking to them, because a lot of them they'll kind of run away when they hear you don't have that bit sorted out, because it's a never-ending evolution.
Yeah, so UCreate, so we're just negotiating at the moment, but they are an equity partner, so they take a small percent of equity, so they don't really make their money on the development side. They want to be bought in as a kind of semi-co-founder, and so that's the way. And you're totally right. I completely agree on the kind of cost required. I was actually being a bit vague on the kind of the £5. It is lower than that, but I barely scratched the surface on.
I get it. It's an honest answer, Sanjay, which I like. I realise, if you get the PR right, the cost of client acquisition is zero.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm just throwing it out there, but I think you're more at I don't think you're at the VC stage. My feeling is, you could do a safe note investment round, and that would remove the question of valuation right now. Yeah. And maybe you could do some, equity for the right people to come on board for the team build side of it. And I think that could move you along. I see that. Just listen to where you're at. I think that's 3 or 4 months of doing that. You get your ship steady, and then I think you're going to have people coming after you.
My understanding is that safe, because I'd rather, so the price, I felt like the price rounds are more common in the UK at this stage because of SEIS, EIS. The feedback I've been getting is that it's less common to do things like safe notes because you can't take advantage of the tax breaks. If you can do an ASA, but you have to have your long stop at 6 months. So that's not really going to make a huge amount of difference in terms of valuation.
Paul, I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. Just playing the safe notes is definitely a good concept. It's growing actually a lot of ground in the UK. It used to be the case. It used to be in America. You'd only hear that kind of vehicle for getting funding to take away the evaluation element of it. But I don't know. I think to fix evaluation at your stage, you've done enough, I think, but. I need to know more, obviously, which direction to go on.
Cool. Just all ideas, and there's no,
all great.
It's just, I think with your business, as Paul said, I guess we need to know a lot more detail to give you very meaningful answers. But I think today is just to kind of get to know each other, understand a little bit about what you're doing. In fact, the next person who was meant to come on has dropped off now, so we can keep talking. Now, I was kind of rushing along. They weren't waiting too long and be annoyed with me for keeping them waiting, but they seem to have gone, so we have a bit more time. But yeah, I think the main point is, you said at the beginning, you're kind of at this crossroads. There's a few different ways that you could go, and I think Paul said it right. It's quite an important moment, but I can't help but think it's always better to hold on to as much as the company as you can for as long as you can. Yeah. And as the business is working, then and you've got proof of concept, the flywheel model. If you can really get that working, then frankly, the smart money will be, and you're not giving. You can just put the money in yourself. Or get family and friends to do it.
So this is where I guess I'm like, this is where I need to define what traction is suitable for the type of raise that I could go for, because it's only a few thousand users that we've got, because I'm not going hell for leather for users, because I want to get the product right. And I've got another set of features that I'm launching this month, which I'm really feeling quite strongly about. And I think it will go again to increasing the kind of retention really even further. And the other great thing about my product is the gender balance is like nowhere else that you get. Everywhere else you've got like 65-75% males, whereas that's not the case with mine, because of how we've positioned the brand and the product itself. So so that combined with the retention, like I which is why I'm kind of all in on this now, because I can see that this is something there and I know that it could kind of do really well. But I've also heard that, well, some people will be like, well, no, I need to see about 65,000 users, 50,000 users, something like that, which I can get to in a few more months. But is it just all about the users, or actually, if I can show, like I said, the retention rates are for me the strongest thing that I can say about this, as well as the consumer, the feedback I've been getting from users as well. So it's just, yeah, I guess that's another thing that I'm kind of like, what do angels in particular look for in terms of traction? Do they want to see thousands of users considering they're coming in much earlier, or they just want some sort of indication that it's they're onto a winner?
I think on my feeling is, after from where you are right now, I would say that you're in the zone more for angels than VCs. Yeah. In fact, I'd actually suggest you try and avoid VCs.
Yeah,
almost totally, if you can get there without the VCs, that's fantastic, because you will have much more control of your own company.
Yeah,
even if you get a good valuation, they'll find ways of controlling your company, because they kind of have to. That's part of the game. They have to control, because they have to get the exits for their investors. So like I would say that what you really need is not so much like serious numbers, which VCs will try and push you for. But what you need is like an algorithm that you've kind of figured out in terms of how the business operates. So can it work at a base level? Can people have a good experience from it? So they'll look at the ratings and the testimonials and the people using it. I had a very quick look at the app as well, and it looks like you've got some good feedback on there. People seem to like the ghosting element. So I think it seems the angle's right. You seem to validate it up to some point anyway. That then do the financials work out? Does it make economic sense? So for example, we talked a lot about the acquisition cost for what it actually buy a customer. If that makes sense that you buy that, and also the average lifetime value of that customer far exceeds it beyond at least 3x it, and hopefully much more, and then and you validated that in a major city like London, then that's a damn good start. That's a really good start. With angel investors, they'll think, okay, so we could put money into that, and this algorithm we could expand and do into different cities. It doesn't mean always that you just pump more money into it and you get the same result, but it's still certainly a good indicator that you're on the right track. It's not that common, actually. So you've actually achieved something, actually pretty unusual, especially in such a competitive market. I mean, it's done really well. I mean, I've come a lot.
Really well. I'm actually really excited for you, Sanjay. I think you've really got onto something here. But I would breathe, be a bit patient, keep pushing your product. That's going to be your economic moat, that product piece, because a lot of people can pivot a little bit and start doing what you're doing. So you just got to build up, a real economic moat there. And I think that's going to come from the product. So keep your head down on that. But if you need money, I mean, Paul can introduce you to people. I can introduce you to people. I mean, I have never invested in a dating app before. They never appealed to me, but this one actually kind of does. I'm scared to download one because I'm happily married for 20 years. I get a lot, but anyway, it's definitely, I think you're onto something. I think go away and have a think about what we've talked about, and feel free to circle back to myself and Paul and let us know if we can help you further move it along.
I'd love to show you the like, even just for some feedback, the work in progress, or once I finish it, the actual pitch deck, which has a hell of a lot more detail into all elements, including the kind of financials and the go to market and that. So. If you guys would be up for that, I'd absolutely.
Of course, I mean, there will always be a lot of people with a lot of opinions about lots of different ways to raise money. I mean, at the end of the day, you probably have to go the way you feel. But it sounds like you've had a lot of hyper growth experiences. So, going slow and steady, can sometimes be really powerful. And just getting the system right, tweaking it. And then, frankly, people will be knocking on your door, I think, to throw money at it. And the biggest problem you're going to have is just going careful with that. I hate Facebook, but I always like how they started. You get to one university, everybody loved it. They tell another university. I hate this having to buy user thing. And I think it can be like burning money. And I actually think there's something getting missed in the marketing world when that's the only model. So if you can get client acquisition costs down to zero by doing some really clever marketing, I think that would be really appealing to you as the founder of the company, not having to give up all your equity.
Absolutely. I mean, so I keep having to remind myself that we haven't even been going for 6 months yet, and it's only in one city. I've seen there's a lot of dating apps that are getting investment, and I've seen a couple more recently get multi-million dollar rounds. But then I look at the app, and I'm absolutely certain the reason that they've been able to kind of get this because they've shown loads of growth, because they've gone immediately global into tons of cities. But in terms of actually driving relationships and matches, like I've tried using the apps, all of them, and they're all terrible. Like you're not going to find someone on these things. So they're all reliant on having a ton of users and being able to like match people up when they're on different continents, which is not the way I want to go, because ultimately the users, like I didn't want to do this unless I actually created something that would help people as well as kind of create a decent business. So I didn't want to do another Tinder clone or any of that.
Totally.
So
I also know the number 4 at Tinder, they've now left. Could be someone worth talking to about this, but I think that I mean, at the end of the day, you've also got to remember you built this in lockdown. There's a different. So what's going to happen afterwards? You know, let's assume we're coming out of this nightmare. How's it going to affect your business? And kind of get ready for that new story that's coming. And I think that feels like, you know, I'm going to say September, October is the time you go to market with a money raise and be ready for that change.
Yeah,
that's change. Because there's going to be a flood of people wanting to go on dates. There's going to be a flood of people wanting to get back out there in the world. And if you can be ready for that moment and catch the press at the same time, I think, you know, you're not going to take our phone calls anymore. That's what I think, Sanjay. You're going to be Simon who, Paul who. I'm busy. So I wasted 5 minutes of my time.
I'm just like can't wait until we can. So every other dating app that's kind of been successful in the last 5 to 10 years have all done like events and taken advantage of kind of like, you know, all sorts of things. I'm just dying to do something like that, you know, even if it's only 5 people, just so we can be outside chatting to users face to face and all that stuff. But I haven't done any of that since God knows how long, from the last project I was working on.
We should do a room on Clubhouse together as well. I'd love to talk about this whole dating world thing.
It's so interesting. Like there's so many interesting insights that I'm getting from the data that I'm kind of I have access to now. Which is really, and it's a world I'm fascinated by, because I have to live through other people to experience it. So I'm happily married, but it's definitely I know the pain point. I've got a lot of my brother's children are all dating, and it just sounds like a nightmare for them. So exactly. I think what you're doing is really important.
What is the actual success rate, do you think, on the dating then, when people go on the apps? Generally, is there a general thing?
So I tried to like do a very back of the fag packet type calculation for say Tinder, for instance, because they talk about how many users they had. I've forgotten it all now. I think it was like either way, so it was like billions of swipes per day, X number of millions of users, and it basically equated to about at least 150 swipes per day. And then, you know, the number of actual kind of relationships or dates off that is very, very low. So on average, that's why I'm kind of, and I've you know talked to friends and I've talked to users and stuff, and it's very similar. That's why the volume approach just doesn't work in terms of.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just throwing up. A lot of people are making comments, and I don't know, kind of interesting. Like, there's no dating app with video. Everyone's going to give you a product idea now. You'll be like, yeah, okay, one more feature. But then, I guess Clubhouse has changed the game a little bit. Can you create a Clubhouse room where people can actually have a chat in a Clubhouse room before, is that sort of thing?
People have been doing that. I've kind of been invited to a couple of them, and it's been interesting to see, people chatting. There's a lot of, obviously
I'm single rooms on Clubhouse, I've noticed. I never enter them again. I'm scared to get caught or accidentally got caught in that world. What are you doing in here, Simon? You're not single. But there's loads of them there, right? I mean, you should be in every single one of them saying, hey, you shouldn't be single. You should be downloading my app. One group yesterday was 300 people in it. They'd all be downloading. Acquisition cost, 0.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I'm trying to. I've got a few ideas and a few things kind of in being prepared for it. But the acquisition, through referral and through other things, it's a harder thing to do on dating apps because you don't generally like share like codes with friends and stuff because it's a very personal thing. But word of mouth is definitely important. But there's a few other things that I've kind of got up my sleeve about driving that, which will be really interesting. But again, it's more hopefully when we can go out and actually meet people.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. Well, I'm going to put the links to your app in the
thanks.
below, so people can watch this all day long. We've got quite a few people watching now, but later people will also watch it. So anyone watching finds what you're doing interesting, either wants to invest, is a CTO and wants to help, or knows someone as a CTO that wants to help, or want to get involved as a customer.
It's funny you mentioned the angel list because I was literally writing it up yesterday because the feedback I've been given is like to get a CTO will take a bit of time, which is why I'm happy that I've got the relationship with UCreate. But I do want to start looking for them now, and so trying to put it up on.
There's a white label opportunity right there. You know, if you could create a dating app for CTOs meets marketing people, I get this every day. I mean, I talk to CTOs that are looking for marketing people, and marketing people are looking for CTOs. There's a dating app right there. That no ghosting, because a lot of people get that on Fiverr, right? You contact someone, and then suddenly they're gone. You know, they're going to help you build your dream app, and then suddenly they don't reply to your emails anymore. So ghosting is a problem in all walks of life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. Sanjay, real pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And don't forget us when you're famous, okay?
I won't. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks so much for your help.
See you, mate. Paul, you're a star. I really appreciate you tonight. I think really valuable. Actually, even I want to talk to you about some things and some of the companies I'm invested in already, and get you involved in some of those things. But thank you so much for giving up your time tonight, Paul. Really,
You're welcome. No, I always enjoy it, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me along as well.
No problem. Well, hopefully we can do this very regularly. I know 15 minutes is a little bit tight, but it's also a good way of, frankly, figuring out the good people and the crazy people, and also figuring out the people that genuinely need help and aren't just, frankly, marketing themselves. And so I think both the guests we've had on this evening are brilliant founders, genuinely doing something interesting and genuinely looking for the answers to make their businesses successful. And I think it's our duty to help them be successful so that the world recovers from this economic nightmare we're going through. So, but thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Simon.
So Tally will be in touch for the next session, okay?
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right, thanks. There we go, folks. That's our broadcast today. We were doing our best as a community here to help two founders with questions that they have. I think we helped them somewhat. Hopefully we'll be able to get into more detail and help them more. But if you guys have any views on anything that was shared this evening, any comments, any ideas, I really would appreciate you dropping a note in the comments wherever you're listening to this broadcast now. I have noticed some fantastic people, John, Sarah, Mark. I see you guys. You've all been contributing, and I really appreciate it. I know that I haven't been able to get to all your comments this evening and post them up, but I appreciate the notes and I appreciate the ideas, and keep trying to help people right now in any way you can. And if you want to do one thing, maybe click through to Sanjay's company and Anne-Marie's company and give them a like in the comments below. It doesn't cost anything, and I know they would appreciate it. And let's send some energy to them, positive energy, that their businesses do really well, because I think both of their businesses have a big purpose, and it's great to see businesses starting up in COVID that are doing well. So let's do what we can to support that kind of movement. All right, well, that's it. I'll see you again tomorrow. I'm back online at 3 o'clock. Helping 4 founders. So if you guys want to join, feel free. Don't forget to click subscribe and the alarm bell so you get the live. Otherwise, have a good day. Have a good evening wherever you are in the world. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you.